Lee Arenberg. It's very nice to talk to you today. Thank you for taking a few minutes to talk with us.
I'm really happy to do it, my friend, and honored, in fact.
I appreciate it. Well, and, usually when we think of Grumpy, we think of the animated version. So what's been your approach, and what's it been like to give him a real-life likeness on the TV screen?
Well, I think the challenge with acting is, to keep it simple, stupid. And so basically, I prefer to think that he actually has more emotion, but he's just one of those guys that's like, he's going to tell you what he thinks, doesn't suffer fools. Sometimes he's cranky about it, but for the most part, he's just got an attitude going.
That's right.
So I just kind of like to put some stink on it, and, I kind of just say the words on the page and let our brilliant writing kind of lead us. And I think that's what most of us on the show have done, is, the writing. I've heard this from our directors and from different people. They go, wow, this writing it's kind of challenging because you're talking in this, I love you forever, I'll never leave you, right? Yeah. And to put the sincerity in it and to put the emotion behind it is really the challenge of what we do. And as actors, we're paid to be emotionally vulnerable. That's what really makes us stars, is letting you into our soul. Mm-hmm. And so we've been very lucky to have the great writers. And then, of course, with my backstory, the investment in the fact that this guy was dreamy, had his heart broken by Amy Acker, speaking of good Texas girls. And so do I even have to act at all? There's no acting required.
Having your heart broken by Amy would have a long-term impact on you.
God, I love her. She's such a beautiful woman and beautiful soul. She is cool people.
Awesome.
She is cool people. So good. That's good for me to have. First screen kiss ever. I've always been a baddie. I mean, Pintel never got, he only got to kiss Rigetti.
Right. You've been able to bring several very unique characters to life on screen. You just mentioned another one. And I assume that with Once Upon a Time really being, and you kind of alluded to this a second ago, a project where that's what everybody around you is doing, it's got to be a really enjoyable experience too as an actor.
Yeah, it's great to play in the ensemble.
Yeah.
When you're with a legendary, people that I've looked up to, like Ginny has always been one of my favorites. I was a big fan of The Big Love. Robert Carlyle is so amazing. I loved House, so J-Mo. Josh has become one of my best pals, and to see him burst on the scene, as well as Colin, and get their due as great actors and as great people. It's a fun show. Plus, we work in Vancouver, so we're all kind of up there together, away from our families, so we become a family. Yeah. So there's a lot of dinners together, there's a lot of go-kart racing, there's a lot of golf, and that adds, because when you have that life off the screen, it translates on the screen.
Sure.
So when you see me play a scene with Ginny where I love her, it's real. Yeah. There's no acting there either. And I think that's the key to it, is just calm down, stay in the moment, and play the scene just as you would. The character just naturally comes out when you put the costume on.
Sure.
And so you don't have to think about it. The words tell you everything you need to know. Okay. And I think that's the brilliance. TV is always stirred by writers. Mm-hmm. They drive the pot. You need 22, 24 great episodes. Movies are marshaled by directors. They have to carry the project for years sometimes to get it through fruition. And whereas the theater is maybe the actor milieu, right?
Yeah.
Where we have control every night. We walk out there and it's like,
sure
stomach full. I'm going to say this faster. I'm going to say it slow, right? So depending on how you're feeling or what the vibe is on the show.
We're about to launch the second half of the current season. Is there anything you can share with anybody as to what Grumpy's going to be doing next?
Well, he's going to be in there. There's, we're real tight-lipped on the spoilers, and I think that's the smartest way to be, because it's more exciting for everyone.
Sure.
But Wicked is definitely coming. Okay. And there's going to be a bunch of those nasty flying monkeys going around, and it's super exciting. And I love the mix this season of getting some of the Oz characters in there, and they're really spinning it in a really fun way. So I think the audience will be able to enjoy all the characters that they've loved so far, and invest in these new ones as well. Bringing in the Bex Mater to play the Wicked Witch and all this really gives Lana an edge to her character, and will change what's happening, say, with her and her relationship with the rest of us. And I don't know, it's a great dynamic. So this season has been a terrific season, I think, for us. Because prior we had the break, which was inconsistent. Mm-hmm. So this year they deliberately did the break of a chunk of time, and then we're going to play now. Once we start tomorrow night, we'll run straight for 11 weeks. So you won't miss a weekend, which will be terrific.
Well, we're looking forward to that, that's for sure. Well, your other ABC/Disney/mouse-eared project is, of course, Pirates of the Caribbean. What's the best part of being part of that franchise?
Wow. I would say, again, the For me, because I grew up in Southern California and I loved being a pirate in my mind as a kid. So to kind of live out a childhood dream is probably the ultimate. Myself, Johnny Depp, and Marty Kleba are the only kind of Americans that were the main kind of cast in that. So the fact that they couldn't find Short, Bald, and Crazy in London has always been one of my greatest coups.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So and then there was the whole thing is they're all English. They don't need to work with the dialect coach. I knew that's the only way I could be fired. So I made sure to do my work with him. Weeks and weeks I practiced to get that. So it's a lot of hard work, but the fact is when you do something you love, is it really work?
Exactly.
It's a labor of love. And I look at this business that way. We're in an egocentric business, and if you're asking the universe to give you something like a juicy roll in a flick, damn well better enjoy it.
Right.
And I kind of roll through. You can see even I'm coming here to a Comic-Con in Waco, I'm having the best time.
Yeah.
I'm always a silver lining dude. That's the key to my game. That's the key to living a dream for all the young actors and the young artists out there. Do it for the passion. The results will come. You can't do it for the results. Absolutely.
It'll show in your performance too if you're taking the time to enjoy it.
And that, especially the second and third movie, we were in the Caribbean for 2 years. We'd take speedboats to work. I get to hang with Keira Knightley all day. I mean, what is not wrong with that?
That's right.
Absolutely. So the life experience is probably the greatest thing about my job, including coming here, meeting all these fine people. I just met a great officer from the Waco Sheriff's Department, and I met a school teacher, and I'm like, here, I'm going to give you this because you're a cop. I'm giving you one.
Yeah.
You're a teacher. Put this up in your classroom. Inspire your kids.
Yeah.
And the look on their face, the generosity, it's like, listen, acting is what I do. It's not who I am. And so to be able to connect with the fans, we're in the customer service business, be able to give them love, to thank them for giving us this great life. I mean, it's kind of neat, actually.
Good for you.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
You bet.
Thank you, man.
I know that they're in the process of developing the next Pirates of the Caribbean film. Do you know if you're a part of that one?
I mean, it's rumored on IMDb.
Yeah, I know.
So it must be true. No, actually, you know what? I mean, I've heard sniffs, but until they call, until you sign, until you're locked in, I mean, it's pretty much all a pipe dream. And I've learned in this business because what happens is you want it so badly, like I do want to be in it. But emotionally, I got to kind of stay detached because if it doesn't come through, I can't afford the heartbreak, you know. So the key thing is, don't believe all the good things they say about you, so you don't have to believe all the bad things they say. That kind
Perfect.
Yeah.
I know that a big part of your development and path as an actor was forming the Actors Gang.
Correct.
And can you talk a little bit about that? And this other project I read about that was kind of fascinating, just reading your writing and directing project called Foursome,
right?
Which I understand is about golf, sex, and witchcraft.
Correct.
Interesting combination, but I'm fascinated.
Well, what it was is that the Actors Gang started in 1981 at UCLA.
And you formed that with Tim Robbins?
Tim Robbins, Laurence Olivier's son Richard, Jack Black's come out of our group, Kyle Gass and the Tenacious D Band, all that has come through the group. For the first 4 or 5 years, I mean, I had a straight job. I just graduated college and I was working in the theater, and that's kind of how I got my first agent and got my start.
Okay.
But our shows, we work in a white-faced commedia style, so that every rehearsal is full costume, full makeup, the image of the character. It's really about the work and less about the individual act, teaching us that group dynamic, teaching us how to work together. And, a lot of our shows had either a political bent or an edge to them, and so it was kind of some exciting time. It took us to travel all over the world. So the Actors Gang I owe pretty much everything to, in terms of who I am today, and a lot of that kind of being out on the stage and like entertaining the troops is really the key to part of the process. And the Foursome came about. We were in Scotland in 1989 doing a show, and we were all housed in these dorms in the University of Edinburgh. There's a golf course out back, and it was pouring rain, and there were guys out there playing, and there were like 5 or 6 guys in my room looking out there going, those guys are crazy. None of us were golfers.
Yeah.
Then we all got back to America, and that's the way the golf gods work, is suddenly we were all avid golfers. And we were like, we didn't play in Scotland, we were invited to play the old course. Right, so it was the golf gods. So I became one of those guys that just lived for golf for a long time. In my 30s, I played a lot. And it was a good game for actors because you'd be like, back in the days of the pagers, you take your pager out, waiting for a call. Yeah, exactly, right. And so there was something about the integrity of the game that I always thought about. It's like, I was always one of those guys that would say my handicap was more than less.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I mean, if I was going to do that.
Sure.
Right? I was like, I never understood the guy that says he's a 10 when he's really a 20.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you want those 10 extra strokes?
Exactly.
Okay. So it was about integrity. And so I got to thinking, and one of my favorite plays was Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. So basically, I took Midsummer Night's Dream and put it on a golf course where old Tom Morris and basically a character called Stan, who's Satan, have a bet that there's no honest man left. And so he's looking for the last honest man on earth, and he goes to the golf course to try and find him. Okay. And so you see a bunch of different people that play and their different relationships, and then I had these fairy characters that would come through. I mean, the play was kind of a hot mess, but the effort, the learning about it, the researching it for me was the more fun. I mean, that's the one thing, when you write or direct, you're invested in a different way in the project, and I'm not so sure that I'm really I like the acting. I like the fact that I can put that suit on and take it off.
Sure.
The directing is a lot of pressure, but people like my show, but at the same time, I learned a lot of valuable lessons, in doing it,
You bet.
And it was certainly kooky, and I don't think anyone's ever really done a golf play.
Yeah.
I'd have actual, putting during the show, and I had in case they missed the putt.
It presented some unique challenges, if anything.
Yeah, it really was, and unique in how do you do it, in set design and in terms of concept, and, I think that if you were a golfer, you really dug it, because you got some of those references, and I had a bunch of guys that were in my foursome that I based some of the characters on. My accountant was one of them, the real nerdy guy who's always like, hey, you're fluffing that lie, and whatever. So it really was able to put the needle in my buddies too,
Awesome.
Which was pretty cool, right?
Well, the other thing I read too was that you're also a video gamer.
Oh, big time.
What are some of the games you like to play when you have time?
Right now, I'm really into. I got an Xbox One.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm really enjoying the Xbox One. I mean, I like the rise of Son of Rome. I got my son because it was one of the ways I could get my 7-year-old really into sport. It was like I got him FIFA,
There you go.
And then now he loves soccer and he's an avid player. And it was a little psychological way I got him going and learning the game. And as opposed to just me telling him to get into it, it inspired him to find his way.
Nice.
So I think gaming is, and my wife is like, no, and I go, no, gaming, I'm into it, babe.
Yeah.
He's always on my iPad. He's always doing it, So, and also I think it's like gaming to me is not only so fun, but it's a way. I'm a better driver because of it.
It's true. They say that people that are gamers are better drivers.
It's training our pilots. It's training our soldiers, our policemen. They're doing video games as well. So right. I love to be. I love doing the voices for them. I love being involved in the making of the games. It's a very exciting thing. So, yeah, it's super fun. I mean, I would say I'm looking for Titanfall. I'm looking for some of the new titles to come out. I was debating whether to get the PlayStation or, because I think probably started with a better arsenal of games, but for whatever reason, my mom, who kind of bought it for Christmas, she had told him that we were getting Xbox, then he was locked in.
Oh, there you
and
go.
I was like, I'm going to hate it but then, it works so well.
Yeah.
And wireless connection to my thing, I plugged it in, it hooked itself up. I was amazed. I thought it was going to be the worst hassle in the world. So actually pretty proud of Microsoft for that unit.
Awesome.
I think it turned out pretty good.
Well, my last question for you, sir, is just to see if there were any other projects you're working on that you'd like to let everybody know about.
Well, right now, I'm pretty much locked in on Once Upon a Time till the end of the season, and then I'll be kind of looking for more. I think the one thing to do is I was on Californication season 6, and that's dropping on DVD this month, so that could be a good one if you haven't caught up. That's a kind of show where that character is completely different and obviously that show is completely different than anything else on TV. It's as if Californication it's Hollywood without the filter. It's as if we're talking to you, but we've removed any kind of common sense and filter.
Yeah.
You can't even believe what they write on those pages.
Right.
So if you haven't seen that, go get that, go rent that, and go check out my work and go meet Ken Dahl is my name in that one. Ken Dahl.
Awesome. That's an awesome name. You always have a good set of really good names to go with your characters.
Well,
and
that's one of the key things too is when I always talk this about Seinfeld. People, those shows I did many years ago, but they still play all the time, and they still are funny. And why? Because they were generous with the comedy. They were courageous enough to say, I don't need to be the funny guy. I can be funny, but this guest star will let him be the funny. Yeah. And we'll just react to him. And that kind of chemical recipe, if you will, I think is very, very clever. It always comes down to the good writing. The play's the thing in our business. So, as long as it doesn't say writer by my name, I think we'll be okay, because then everything would be the foursome, and it would be golf, sex, and witchcraft.
There's an audience for that too.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's an audience for everything.
That's right.
It's all about. I mean, look what's happening now. Zombies are now the thing, or
right?
whatever, and God even knows what's going to come next, right?
Yeah.
It'll be what's the next thing that we'll all be turned on by.
Well, Lee, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, sir, about all the projects you've been involved in and what you're doing now. Thank you so much for talking with us today on Assembly of Geeks.
I'm a geek, and I'm happy to be assembled with all of you all, and it's been my pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.